Hey, Redeemer Community Church. This is Michael Johnson with Rantoul Community Church. It's likely that you've heard it said that church planting is the best way to reach people who didn't grow up in the church, right? The unchurched. And I totally agree with that comment because that's my story. I grew up actually not too far from you guys in Elk Grove Village, northwest suburb there. And for the first 30 years of my life, I thought that the pursuit of happiness was what life was all about. For me, that played out in a life of excess. The excessive amounts of alcohol and drugs, women, even the kind of long hours at work that gained me some success in the workplace. Man, it just didn't lead to the fulfilling, happy life that I was hoping for. But God, right, some of the sweetest words in the Bible. God used this new Acts 29 church in Champaign, Illinois, where I was living at the time, to introduce me to Jesus. I got to experience firsthand how God was using church planting to impact people's lives. I fell in love with Jesus and his mission to seek and save the lost. Soon after coming to faith, I met my now wife, Chastity. Chastity grew up in small town Indiana. Very much cultural Christianity was prevalent there. You know, kind of everyone went to church and was a Christian. But for Chastity, the gospel didn't really take root in her life until she was a freshman in college. God used this campus outreach, campus ministry called Cru in her life. And after Chastity graduated college, she joined staff with Cru. And when we met, she was actually leading the team at Northern Illinois University in DeKalb. While she was in DeKalb, she got plugged in with a new Acts 29 church plant there. And God started to stir these desires in her heart for the local church and to be a part of what God was doing through the local church. Because there she was seeing people from all walks of life being impacted by the gospel, not just college students. So a year into dating, Chastity and I got married, and less than a year after that, we were both leaving our jobs to start down this path towards church planting. I had the privilege to serve on the staff team at the same church that God used in my life for about 5 years. I was at Christ Community in Champaign-Urbana, and our hope was that someday we would plant out of Christ Community. Well, our desire for diversity, Chastity's small town roots, and kind of some different events that have been happening in our culture as of late brought us to a small town that we never imagined we would even consider, the town of Rantoul, Illinois. The way that one of Jesus' followers felt about his small town of Nazareth is the way a lot of people feel about Rantoul. Can anything good come out of Rantoul? This used to be a proud Air Force base at one point, but the Air Force base closed in the 90s, and ever since, our community has felt, for the most part, overlooked, forgotten. But Chastity and I, we took notice of Rantoul, and what we saw here were people created in God's image and needy for the love of Christ. So we moved our family here in October of 2018 with the hope of seeing God rescue and redeem our new community. Well, I want to share just one of the ways that we've seen God at work, even in the midst of this global pandemic. When COVID kind of hit and the state of Illinois was closed down, we had just recently launched our Facebook page and decided a way that we might be able to connect with our community still would be through some videos on Facebook. So I started posting these short reflections there, and a woman named Kendra reached out to us on our Facebook page. Kendra is an agnostic, self-proclaimed, and she said that recently she couldn't shake that there was something about God that she just didn't know, and that maybe he was considering her to explore what the Bible said about who he was. So she reached out to us, and a pandemic was actually a safer time for Kendra because she's an extreme introvert. So she participated in some of our Zoom Bible studies online and got together with some of our women's groups as well over the phone. And during one of the recent women's times, she was participating in this Bible study just as much as all the other women in our core group. And she said that she just wished she had a Bible of her own so she could start reading and learning some of these stories that everyone else seems to know. Even a humility in saying like, hey, you know, maybe a children's Bible would be a good place for me to start. So Chastity came home and her and I jumped online and we ordered Kendra a Bible and one of our favorite children's Bible as well, the Jesus Storybook Bible. It's funny that not growing up in the church, that Bible was very impactful for me as well, to see the ways that all of the Bible points to Jesus. So Kendra, a couple weeks ago, she got this package in the mail and she sent us a message just expressing how thankful she was that we would take the time and spend the money to invest in her in that way. So we are hoping that God continues to do a work in Kendra's heart and that her life would be forever changed by the gospel. You know, really, we're hoping that many people in our community are impacted by the gospel. The desire of our hearts is that our community would be transformed by Jesus through a loving church family, impacting other communities for Jesus. That's why we're planting Rantoul Community Church. And I just wanted to reach out to share a little bit about our background with you and to just thank you. Thank you for your support and your partnership in the gospel. Yeah, man, Redeemer Community Church, thank you for being a part of this big vision that God has given us for our small town. We love you guys and really appreciate you.